lot here, here, and kind of around it. And to me, I don't know, that's,
You think that this is wrong? There's something wrong here?
it's, well, I would say here,
Oh, here for sure.
yes,
Yeah.
and then here,
Before and after.
yeah, and maybe here.
But you know, people know a lot. You identify as an MRI. You identify the lesions. That is remarkable. Some neurologists and radiologists miss them. So you are definitely ahead of time. Okay? So
It's my new
that's,
job.
let me see how. John, you got it. So this is what I was saying. What really made the difference for us, and you know, from clinicians, was all these resources now we have for brain imaging, because it showed us that a lot more patients have this type of lesions that are actually in deep areas. You can think of the brain. You know, the brain has a surface. This is what we call the cortex, and the brain has deep areas. Okay. That we call subcortex or subcortical areas. So in CADASIL, most of the lesions occur in this subcortical region. And this is actually important because it in a way relates to the way in which the brain is fed. Okay? So it turns out that the vessels in the brain actually are here in the surface, and they actually penetrate to deeper areas, such that the areas in the cortex receive most of the food and the oxygen, and then that's actually spent as the artery travel inwards. Okay? So that may actually have to do with the pathology of the disease, because these regions, to begin with, are in the depth, in deeper, more, you know, subcortical areas are the ones that are mostly affected by CADASIL. Okay, and these are the regions that could be also more susceptible because there is less, you know, most of the food and oxygen has been spent already feeding this very active cortex that is where most of the neurons are. Got that? CADASIL stroke syndrome caused by mutations in NOTCH3, and that's what we all know is what the acronym stands for: cerebral-autosoma dominant arteriopathy with subcortical infarct and leukoencephalopathy. This is where the infarcts occur. This is what we call leukoencephalopathy. We all know it's caused by mutations in NOTCH3. We discussed the relationship to the arteries, and we know it's subcortical. So now we really know what we're talking about. Now, I'm going to start handing out candy here for people. So what do you see here, here, and there? You can show me what is that? It's a test. What was that?
The pictures of the lesions.
Which ones? Come on.
You
You asked for it.
I don't know, maybe.
Did you open your mouth?
Yeah.
Which was
It's right here.
You don't like those black spots? Okay, they look weird.
Yeah.
Okay. How about here? What is that?
It's like a lifesaver.
No, but this is very good. So you don't like these black spots.
Right.
Someone was talking earlier about the GOMs, the granular osmiophilic material. Okay? This is it. And this is actually a blood vessel. This is blood that is going through a tube. You can think about it as a hose. And it has many layers. So here, in this layer, which we call the middle layer, this is where the GOMs accumulate. So these GOMs, the GOMs, the granular osmiophilic material, are a hallmark of CADASIL, and it's very helpful for diagnosis. Whether or not is related at the mechanistic as a causative. You know what I mean when I mean causative? Sometimes you find things that have to do with it, or sometimes you find things that just happen to be there by accident. Okay? So we know they are very important, they are always there. Okay? You see, let's say here, there is a, we are in criminal justice, we love these TV shows and everything, and then we have here the body, and then we find here a gun. Well, it's right next to it, but is that the gun that was used to kill this person? Okay? For sure, how do we know? Guys, tell me.
Fingerprints. Fingerprints.
Fingerprints, what else? What was that?
Ballistic test, if the person was shot.
Ballistic test. And then what if I look at the body and the body has stab wounds? Was he killed with the gun? Okay, you know what I'm saying? So, now, what if the gun belongs to the killer, but he decided to stab the person? So, the gun is helpful, even if it wasn't used to kill the individual. Why? Because it allows us to identify who killed him. So, gums are important and relevant regardless of whether or not they cause the disease. And this is why working on the gums, and I devoted a lot of efforts to try to characterize them, because they are right next to the body. Okay, so I'm gonna get to it a little bit more. So these are the gums. We have here a neuropathologist. What's your name again? Todd, the neuropathologist, described the gums, and he picked them up from the lineup.
Joe,
Yes?
is that only in the brain, or is that elsewhere in the body as well? And all these problems?
Okay, so gums are very important for diagnosis because, yes, they are in the brain, but they are also everywhere, and they are also very conspicuously in the skin. So some people get diagnosed by just getting a skin punch and looking at this. Have you ever had that? Skin biopsy? Okay. And then sometimes they do the skin biopsy first, then they go for the genetic testing. Okay? But
Can I tell you why I'm asking?
yeah.
My brother has factor V Leiden, but we also think he has CADASIL,
Okay.
but he's got blood clots really bad, and so he's probably going to have a pretty drastic procedure done. But he's really worried because of his blood clots and all these other issues, and so he's been asking me about CADASIL and everything.
And he hasn't been tested?
No, his insurance company won't pay for it.
Oh, I see.
Because of the factor V, but he wants to know before he goes in with the surgery. But so he's asking me all this stuff, and I'm like, I don't know the answers yet.
Yeah,
So,
and the thing is that a lot of the things you don't know, no one knows. Like on that regard, how do we know how to deal with a patient that has both, or the possibility that has both? We don't.
yeah, I mean, like, he's on Coumadin. He has to be to stay alive. But he's had an abnormal MRI in his brain, and for sure he has it. But
Yeah, and it's different. Like when an individual without CADASIL goes to surgery than an individual with CADASIL goes to surgery. Do we know how to treat them differently? We don't know. But this is why there has to be a lot of studies. But unfortunately, a lot of these things is just a no, because there are not that many studies that have been done in this respect.
so I'm just wondering if it would affect in other places.
It could because the disease in CADASIL is actually, when we think about CADASIL, if you want to say what it is, it's a disease of the arteries. This is what we call an arteriopathy. But not only the arteries of the brain, they are the ones that are most prominently affected, but all the other arteries are, and they are everywhere in the body. And there are other studies. There are not a lot of symptoms associated with it. It's not that someone is going to be here, is like, well, I have CADASIL because I have this skin rash. I've never seen the first patient saying that. But, but if you look at they have this pathology in the skin.
What about
Okay.
deep veins and stuff like that, though?
It has been reported to
Deep things.
deep veins. It has been reported people with deep vein anomalies and some